Hello and welcome everyone. This is the Founder Scoop. My name is Jacob Lee, and today I have with me Charles Riggs. Thank you for joining me.
Happy to be here, Jacob.
So everyone, Charles, he is a serial entrepreneur. He has several businesses. He was just telling me about. He even has a nonprofit that he's launching, and he has a background in accounting. So I'm really excited to hear your journey today. Accounting is really interesting to me, so I don't know if it's going to be quite as entertaining for everyone else, but why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what got you started on your journey?
Yeah, sure. Well, like you said, I have a background in accounting. I started my career at Price Waterhouse down in LA, and I was there for a few years, and then I jumped ship and went to a smaller firm in San Diego. I have a twin brother who is a CPA,
Oh,
and
cool.
he's like, "Oh, I love this firm. Come work here." I said, "Okay."
Is your family all in accounting then,
No,
or is it just you and your
it's
brother?
actually just my brother and I.
Nice.
Um, we have all lots of. I come from a family of. I have 8 siblings.
Wow, big
There's
family.
9 kids, and we do. Everybody does something, right? So we
That's
got
cool.
attorneys, programmers, other business entrepreneurs, photographers. We're all over the place. So, um, anyways, yeah. So I started my career at these CPA firms, and I ran the gamut of working from small businesses, individuals, all the way to multinational, these huge corporations. And one of the specialties that I picked up actually at Price Waterhouse was the research and development tax credit. And after my time at CPA firms, I ended up working at a small engineering firm with my father-in-law. And for him, I had multiple hats on. It was almost pretty much a startup, very scrappy. Let's, get this done, do that, all over the place. So I did, all the accounting work for him, bookkeeping, payroll, some tax work. But all along the way, from PwC to working for him, I had been keeping up on this R&D tax credit. And out of all of the accounting, taxes, everything that I had under my belt financially, the only thing I really enjoyed was this research and development tax credit, right?
Yeah.
And well, so so I have a company now, R&D Advantage, and that's what we do is research and development tax credits for all sorts of clients, right?
So what exactly does that entail? Like, give me a
Yes,
little bit more insight.
sure. So the research and development tax credit, it's been in existence since the early '80s, pretty much, and if you have a company and it does well, all companies have business activities, right? We are interested in companies that do activities that are based on hard sciences,
Hmm.
so engineering, mathematics, computer science, software development, biology, chemistry, physics, all these. And if you're using those sciences to develop something new, what's called a business component in the tax code. So if you're coming up with a new product, a new process, like a manufacturing process, it could be, obviously a new invention. It could be a new technique, right? Something that you're going to use in your company to improve your company, make it better, faster, whatever. Or if it's something maybe you're selling to clients or, customers. And when you are working on these business components, like if you're coming up with a new product, right, or a new piece of software, then you have to have something called technical uncertainty at the outset of work on it, and that means to say that you don't know how to make this product yet. Right? You've never done it. It doesn't have to be new to the industry. It just has to be new to your company,
Hmm.
right? And so when you have those uncertainties, you're going to want to eliminate them, right? To actually do what you want to do, improve the process or make the product. And so you're going to go through something known as the process of experimentation. And that's really like the meat, that's the actual activity that takes place by employees, right? Or contractors or what have you. And when you're engaging in this process of experimentation, I think sometimes from a business standpoint, we think of experimentation like these guys in lab coats mixing liquids and blowing things up. And that can be part of it, definitely. But the other parts of it are, you know, an engineer but might be using CAD software, right, to design something, right? And so there's going to be different iterations of that design. And so that's their process of experimentation. A software developer will be writing code and testing the code and going through those iterations, right? That's their process of experimentation, right? A manufacturer might be doing the manufacturing process, right? They're building a new widget, right? So how are we going to, get the first product out right? And then how are we going to ramp up to commercialize the product, right? And their development of that manufacturing process would be their process of experimentation. And another last example might be prototype development, right? Where you're making a product and you take it out in the field and it blows up. Okay, well, oops, that didn't work. You have a second iteration. Okay, take it out in the field. This time it only melted, right? Okay. Third iteration, it actually kind of works this time, And so that's, another type of process of experimentation. So we're looking at the experimentation from a tax definition standpoint rather than a business definition standpoint. And of course, there's a lot of overlap, but it's those rules that we understand and want to help explain to any potential clients so that they can claim this tax credit, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and just a little bit more on it. So, all business activities have an expense associated with them. If you're paying employees, if you're paying a contractor, if you're buying supplies and materials for prototype development, those expenses that correlate to the R&D activities, those expenses are what we take and put into the credit calculation. And it's been incredibly beneficial for all of our clients.
That's
right?
awesome.
So,
That's really cool.
mm-hmm.
So you developed this skill working for other accounting firms
Yeah.
in identifying and being able to speak the language of
Mm-hmm.
what would you call that? Like
The
tax credit
Yeah, the
for
language
research
of
and development.
yeah, no, yes, the tax code language of it all. I mean, there's what I just went through was something called the four-part test, right? And that's like any R&D tax credit specialist is going to know that like the back of their hand. And like, for example, we have a one-page PDF that we give out. We hand that out like candy, to all of our clients, anybody we talk to, and we just half the battle that we have, for better or for worse, is helping people become aware that this credit actually exists.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I mean, you hear tax strategies and things like that that are a conglomeration of different parts of the tax code, and they put them all together and say, hey, based on this and this, we have this tax strategy, and here's the taxes you could save, and you kind of hope for the best, and sometimes the IRS comes and blows that apart, or something like that, or Congress rewrites stuff, and it all changes. But the R&D tax credit is a general business tax credit. It has its own code section 41. You can go look it up, if you're inclined to. So it's not like I mean, obviously there's gray area with anything, maybe gray area as to what qualifies. But we look at the code, we look at court cases, and we are very careful in how we guide our clients to their level of qualification. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
So what made you want to take the leap and start your own company, right? Being an accountant, I feel like it's pretty comfortable.
Yeah, well,
Well, I
it
guess, yeah,
can
tell
be.
me about it.
It can be. I mean, the funny thing is, I went through my college career, and I don't remember anyone really sitting me down and saying, "Hey, you're going to have busy seasons in the public accounting space, and you're going to be working crazy hours during those busy seasons." And I mean, maybe they did, but I don't feel like that's what happened. And at least maybe you just don't. It doesn't dawn on you as a college student like what that actually means,
Yeah.
because you've never experienced it before, mostly. But for me, my experience was I was just always stressed out. It was horrible, you know. I'm grateful for those companies and the people I met and the mentors that I had and the work that I was able to do and the things I could learn. undoubtedly grateful for those experiences. But as I look back on my life at that time, it was not the best. You have these busy seasons where you're work, 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 and you're so stressed out because there's all this work to get done. Um, and then the busy season's over, and you have like maybe a week breather or something.
And right
Um,
back into
well, to
it.
some degree, but the other problem is, especially in public accounting, you worry about your billable hours,
Mm,
right? You'll have managers and partners say, "Hey, you got to bill, make sure you bill all your hours and things like that." But then you have these slumps, especially for associates, where it's like, I, I don't know if I have enough billable hours. And you're always
mm,
worrying about your billable hours.
interesting.
So during busy season, there was crazy billable hours. During not busy season, there was lower billable hours, and it was always stress of too little, or stress of too much.
Yeah.
And after my busy seasons, they give you a week off, usually, but I would get sick
Yeah.
from all that. I
Doesn't
just
surprise me.
yeah, I mean, maybe there are better ways for me to handle the busy seasons, um, taking care of myself a little better and working out and eating better and things like that. But you just get into this mindset of just work, 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 work. That's all
Yeah.
I want to get it done. Um,
So then how
mhm.
has the stress been running your own company? Because I don't feel like it's stress free. It's just a
It's not.
different kind of
No,
stress.
it is different. Definitely, it's not stress free, but um, I think one of the things about becoming an entrepreneur is that you put yourself into this new network, right, of people and other like-minded individuals, and you just become inoculated or bombarded with these uh, kind of more open, uplifting thoughts and people that are trying to encourage you to do better. I mean, yeah, you get that at CPA firms, but your mindset is just like work, work, and then I want to go home and just veg, right? But what I've come to learn is, you know, as an entrepreneur, you spend your time working, working, which is good, but then on your down moments, yeah, there is some vegging. But like if you have like, you know, issues that you're trying to work through and improve yourself, and you're really trying to relax, vegging doesn't really help you out that much. Taking time to sit down and read a book and let your mind work differently rather than staring at a computer screen or something like that. Um, it's very therapeutic, and you're able to. I don't know. Reading a book for me is a great way to relax. And it brings new thoughts, new opportunities, and things that I can write down and come back to and think about. Um, but that's not something I did when I worked at a CPA firm. And maybe that's on me. I know people who just make a career out of that and they learn how to handle that. But I wasn't able to figure that out.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's still stressful now, definitely. But the stress is like invigorating. It's like I have this problem that I want to solve because there's a lot of growth potential. You really begin to appreciate the growth potential that you have, getting out of your bubble, your comfort zone, and growing, right? And that's probably, again, like I said, that's because of the network that I've implanted myself into with all these, people of it's some of it's like hoorah, all this stuff, but sometimes it's really down to earth, straightforward facts, and I begin to appreciate those ideas of how to really grow yourself,
Mm,
right? So
yeah. So how have mentors played a role in you growing this company?
mentors have been fantastic. They've been, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Pi- Pivotal, necessary
Yeah.
in a good way though. The mentors that I've had, they've just helped me expand my mind, and think outside the box and think differently than being a grunt worker in a cubicle, you know. That's really been the big thing of mentors for me. And mentors don't do the work for you, but they kind of open a door or different doors to say, maybe you should go down this path, or maybe you should test this path and see where it leads or see how it feels. Or here's an idea to think about, or things. Sometimes, yeah, they will do a little bit of work for you, but in my experience, it's mostly been think about this, test it, see if it works. Um, and I really appreciate one-on-one lunches, with people, whether it's a mentor or whether it's someone I'm mentoring. You know, um, you really get to know that person, and by knowing them, you come to understand their experiences better, and you're able to better learn from those.
Mm.
You know, I think things like lunch and learns and like that are great, and you can learn a lot from that. And like if I were to go to a lunch and learn and hear someone, I'd probably want to grab the guy and be like, "Okay, now can we go to a lunch one on one and really talk, and things like that." So,
Yeah.
um, but anyways, I mentors have been, you know, necessary and fantastic,
Mm.
So
That's cool. So how do you go about like setting up these one-on-one lunches?
pick up your phone, give them a call or a text. It's really that simple. I've I got some actually this is one piece of advice that I remember in college. At accounting, I had an accounting professor, and he said you should be taking advantage of the fact that you're a college student and requesting, or calling and talking to people. You could just be like out of the blue, just be like, "Hey, I'm a college student and I'm interested in this, and I know you're a professional in that industry. Can we go out to lunch where I can pick your brain on it?" 99% of the time, they're going to say yes. It might not be immediate, but well, maybe not 99. But anyways, most often they're going to say yes. And the other thing he said was, and usually they'll end up paying for lunch. So I was like, okay. So I didn't do enough of that. I didn't. Um, but now when I got out of the CPA or CPA firm world, public accounting, and started on this path for entrepreneurship, I do that all the time now.
Mm.
I mean, I always have lunches with people, and it doesn't have to be, a business lunch where it's like, hey, I have an offer for you or sale or something like that. It just needs to be, hey, let's sit down and chat, and get to know each other, and um, help me know what you do, and I'll do what I do, and it doesn't have to. I never go into a lunch thinking, oh, I'm gonna sell my, business or my offering to this guy. No, that's not how it is at all. You just want to develop a relationship with someone. And I think when you do that, you really get better rapport with people, which is, and rapport is important in business and in networking, right? And when you have good rapport with someone, they're more open to introducing you to other people in their network, right?
Mm.
And eventually down the road, there might be some kind of business deal or something of that nature, which is always great. But um, I've come to appreciate just getting to know people and what they do,
Yeah.
and being able to connect people, right, when there's an opportunity. That's something I could never have done before. Being able to connect and, hey, this person does this thing. You guys should talk. I think you would be a great benefit to one another
Mm.
in what you do, and people just appreciate that. Like if someone comes to me and be like, Charles, you should talk to so and so. They have something that you could use, or you could really help them out. I love that. That's great. So I love doing that for other people.
That's awesome. I think what I find really really cool about our conversation so far is I can see how much becoming an entrepreneur has changed you as a person. And
Yeah,
it seems like it's been some good changes.
yeah, definitely. Um, yes, if you let it change you, entrepreneurship can do that for you. It will only make you a better person, right? And there's, I mean, you can spend your time reading, and trying to learn those things, and that's incredibly beneficial. It just, I don't know. It's hard for me to explain it, but I think what it is it just expands your mind, right? It elevates your horizons and helps you think of new possibilities, right?
Yeah. I always think of like you see the world much differently.
You do. You
because now you're
definitely do.
much more like value based and you're looking for problems to solve and
Hmm.
the potential
Yeah.
of those solutions.
Yeah. No, you totally are. Yeah, you totally are. I mean, and and it turns, as I mentioned earlier, it turns into an itch that you're like,
Yeah.
I gotta scratch that, And my wife is like, stop scratching itches. You're doing enough, and she's kind of right. But
Yeah.
it's a good feeling, um, because at least the way I've tried to approach it is I've really tried to be mindful of others, learn to be kinder, learn to be more uplifting, right? Not just, towards, people I don't know, but also towards my employees and towards my clients, you know, it, well, anyways, it's great. Yeah. Here's the thing. I would say when I got married, I thought everybody should get married. That's great. When I had my first kid, I thought, oh, everybody should have a child. This is great. Then when I started my own business, I thought everybody should start their own business. And it's just all these things that steps you can take in life that really elevate your life and help you enjoy it more. So
So how have you made it a good experience? Because I've heard countless like horror stories of people starting businesses and it like ruins their lives. How have you avoided that?
I would say I have a focus, and my focus has been to uplift other people, you know. And it's like, well, you do R&D tax credits. Like, what does that mean? Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know the correlation between tax credits and uplifting people. But like, if that's what your mindset is, it happens. That's the focus, right? And so I mean, I don't mean to disparage anyone who's had a bad experience, but if I would find someone who's had like a bad experience where it's ruined their life, I'd probably want to take them out to lunch, and sit down and pick their brain a little bit and be like, well, why do you think it was such a bad experience? Like, what choices did you make along the way? You know, how are you treating other people? How are you treating yourself?
Yeah.
You know, were you taking care of yourself? Because like when I was at the CPA firms, I wasn't taking that good care of myself, and life wasn't as good. It wasn't until I went out on my own and I started realizing I need to do things for myself. That's important. I got to fill my cup up so I can pour some into somebody else's cup, you know. So I don't exactly know what makes it a good experience or a bad experience. Obviously money is involved, usually. And
Hopefully.
well, yeah,
Hopefully you're profitable.
hopefully, but sometimes, most of the time, I guess, businesses are not profitable and they fail. And that is just a huge stressor. For me, one of the biggest stress I have in life is when I'm low on cash flow. It's like, oh, I got to make payroll. How am I going to do that, right? Do I need to take money out of investments and put it in my business? And that's a very stressful thing. And so I totally get it when it begins to harm relationships that you have with people. But that's the key is like you gotta make sure, or I know it's difficult, but it's easier to say than do, but you gotta make sure that the relationships that you have that you're trying to develop, regardless of the stressors that you have, you know. Um, so yeah, I know it can be difficult,
Yeah.
definitely.
So earlier you mentioned having the entrepreneur itch. What other businesses have you started since your escape from
Yeah.
working for public accounting firms?
So besides R&D Advantage, and that company is I own solely. I started on my own. But another company I have is with a business partner, and we do what you call virtual family office work, um, where we work together and we have small business owners, or individuals who might have a little bit more wealth. We work with them to help them deal with different aspects of their finances from a business and a personal standpoint. And so that can be, a, anywhere from business consulting, tax strategies, beyond the R&D tax credit, um, anything related to insurance for employees or on their personal side, trust and estate work, asset protection, all sorts of things, right? Where we have a pool of vetted specialists that we can dip into
Mm.
when we need their specialty and bring them onto the team for supporting a particular client. And so we've been able to do a lot there. And then a third company, a company called Particle Precision Technologies. It's a small engineering firm that I started with my father-in-law and one of his friends. And we are developing technology that is able to separate particles, which, as an example
Wow.
of where that might be useful. So there's something called powdered metallurgy, where it's used like in the aerospace industry, where they will take metal powder, melt it down into a part, and if there's contaminants in that metal powder, then the metal, when it melts down, doesn't connect at the particle level as well as it should, and so you can't have that in airplane parts that are
Mm.
in the air, super running super fast, lots of rotations and getting really hot, because the metal will, you can't have that on
Yeah,
airplanes, right?
yeah.
And so our technology that we're doing is helping remove more of those contaminants. And then there's other uses, in the mining industry, trying to get, these rare earth minerals that we're kind of having trouble finding, or, bringing to the United States. There's that opportunity, and some others there. And then the last business is actually a nonprofit that I am just starting. The fires that were recently in California. So I grew up in Pasadena in Southern California, and just north of me is a town called Altadena. And Altadena, the town burned down
Mm.
essentially from the fires up there. Like, my middle school is gone,
Oh
and
my gosh.
a bunch of friends that those are my old stomping grounds, right? A
Yeah.
bunch of my friends lost their homes, and so I just thought, I bet I could do something. Maybe if I can just get my Utah network to kind of help me out, and see if I can get money into the families who've lost their homes, especially families with children,
Mm.
who might need assistance, maybe getting them to talk to a therapist or psychologist, because as a child, uh, talking to a child is very different than talking to an adult, and they experience the same thing very differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't want these things to come out in a negative way when they hit teenage years, right? So there's that and other things that we can do with donations. But anyways, that charity is called the Standing Chimney Foundation. So, and again, it's just getting started. We're trying to get it going here. But anyways, those are where all my irons are
Yeah.
right now. So
I just love how everything you do is motivated with a purpose, and it's beyond just profit. It's by serving people and helping and make the world a better place. So I just want to give you props for that.
well,
That's
thank
that's
you.
awesome.
I appreciate that. There's I don't know. There's just a better feeling behind it. It kind of carries you, you know. It's the wind beneath your wings when you're really trying to do things for good reason. And I can see that in other people, in my mentors and other people. I have one mentor who's always saying, we just want to do good things for other people. And he's a very wealthy guy, runs family offices and legitimate family offices, and he's very knowledgeable, and I look up to him. And anyways, I've taken that to heart. His comments there of
Mm.
just always try and do things for people, So, anyways,
Mm. That's awesome.
my wife has told me that some of her friends, she said that their husbands have really appreciated the fact that I've reached out to them and said, "Hey, let's go out to lunch," and just whatever you want to talk about. Let's talk about stuff.
Yeah.
It's not a usual thing for men, I've found. Like, women and girls, they're very much more sociable. They like to go and go out to lunch and chat about this and that and whatever. But I think it's more rare for a man to approach another man and say, "Hey, you want to go out to lunch?" You know, how many times has that happened to you? And especially if it's not someone you know, you know,
Yeah, it's
but
true.
it's more just an acquaintance, right? It's pretty rare to have an acquaintance come up to you and say, "Hey, can I take you out to lunch? Would you like to go to lunch?" And I found that in fact, yeah, most of the time they say yes. You know, they do. They're interested, right? Um, and I think it's because it just opens the opportunity to talk, and just sometimes you got to let things out, you know, and especially if you're an entrepreneur, it's, you know, you can talk to your spouse or someone else, significant other, but if you're talking to another entrepreneur, they're kind of able to understand you a little better, you know. Um, so, anyways, listen. You know, that's probably why I like going out on lunches all day. It gives me the opportunity to practice my listening skills
Yeah.
and really get to know someone, you know, and I really appreciate those relationships. So,
Well, Charles, I really appreciate the things you've shared today. I appreciate just the the character that you have and the motivations that drive you for all the things that you do.
well, thank you. Appreciate it.
But thank you again for coming.
No, my pleasure. It's great.